what I'm going to be talking about here is a project preparation. And just in context, I know this is a very intelligent group of engineers. Therefore, I will not be touching the nitty-gritties. But just as a highlight, there is project preparation or project development as the very first phase that a project goes through. And then there is the project financing, which is all activities requiring or involving the financing, provision of debt. And then there's monitoring, which means after you have given them the $100 million loan, how do you ensure that a client continues to pay, in simple terms. Now, I am involved in the first leg, the project preparation, the project development. And we all know enough studies have been done, World Bank, African Development Bank, everybody else, they all say Africa's big projects are still in development. The reason Africa is where it is today, we need $92 billion per annum for the next 10 years to meet our infrastructure needs. You go to any conference arranged by African Development Bank, the AU, etc. I've been to enough of them. The story is the same. Project preparation, project preparation, project preparation. You go and you speak to the financiers, the Europeans, the Chinese, etc. They will all come back and say, we have sufficient money, however, there aren't sufficient bankable projects. In South Africa, you have the 4 commercial banks. You have China Construction Bank. There's a Russian bank. There's HSBC. There's Investec. There's all kinds of, there's at least close to 15 banks, international banks in South Africa, including banks from India, all of which are sitting with bags of money and are all saying, where are the projects? Now, where everything is blocked is exactly here. And this is what makes it very exciting and interesting for me to be involved in. So what I'm going to present to you here in simple terms quickly, and I've been given only 30 minutes, is to just show you the amount of money we have that is available for projects that are still in development. We're not talking about financing projects that are still in development, which means money that is used to pay for feasibility studies. This is money paid to consultants for the development of feasibility studies, with a view that once you have the feasibility study, then we will provide financing for your project. And it's just as basic as that. The first amount, 200 million, right there. That is an amount that is set aside by the DBSA or from the DBSA's income statement every single year, available purely for project preparation. And I'll get into the details of how to access it, etc. As some of you may know, DBSA is not a private company. We are established as a result of an act. We don't pay tax. That is our tax. So every year, out of all the profits, interest income, etc. that DBSA makes, 200 million is put aside purely that is available to anybody in South Africa or SADC or countries outside of SADC such as Kenya, where you can come and apply for funding that we can use for project development. It's just as simple, as basic as that. Okay. The next one. Some of you may have known about this. The South African government has signed an agreement with the European Union whereby the European Union has granted the South African government 100 million euros purely to use for project development. Now, that money was received through National Treasury. National Treasury appointed DBSA to be the administrator of this money. Now, this money is sitting here. My job is to evaluate projects for which we approve money through that. And that money is only available until 2020. It's available for 50% of it for projects within South Africa, and the other 50% only for regional projects in SADC. So in this case, Kenya will be excluded. And that is only on the second line. On the first line, where is DBSA money? That goes across the entire continent. But this EU money, projects in South Africa or regional projects in SADC, purely project development. Next and last one. This is a SADC fund. It's a fund, $8 million, that is pretty much availed by the SADC Secretariat, which the SADC Secretariat came to the DBSA and said, please administer these funds for us. And our job is purely to receive projects, evaluate them, and then make a recommendation to the SADC Secretariat on whether they should fund this project or not. And in simple terms, projects, this is applicable for projects that are in SADC and that are of regional importance pretty much to SADC. All right. And then the last bullet there, this is to say all funding that I've spoken about is only applicable to sectors in energy, bulk water, transport, and ICT, and nothing more. So this is the crux of my message today. There is more than enough money available for project development, and South African companies or project developers have run out of excuses to say, I don't have money to do a project in Africa, etc. The only thing that stops a project from going forward is the project itself or the sponsors themselves, not availability of money. Availability of money is absolute history. That I can tell you. I help so many people to develop projects. This is what is available within the DBSA. I know of much more that's available outside of South Africa. For as long as a project can finance itself, then it can attract project preparation funding and it can provide debt. There is no project that on concept can attract debt that can't attract project development funding at the very beginning. The solution to all that, and if you have that problem, either the structuring is wrong, either you have the wrong country, or you have the wrong sponsor, etc., but it's not the wrong project. It is not the wrong project. So I'll quickly take you through about 5 slides of our requirements to access each of these available monies. The first one, a project must be a priority. Now, this speaks to so many people that apply for funding. They use their own money for projects that are a priority to them. And then those projects that can't be budgeted for, they try to ship those to the DBSA. Let's see if we can get money there. It doesn't work that way. We want the priority projects, and you can use your money for projects that are not a priority to you. Now, this Gautrain is an example. I think all South Africans know it was announced almost 10 years before its implementation. It was there in every State of the Nation address. It was there in every provincial address, ministers of finance, transport, everybody wanted to talk about it. We all knew it is a priority project, and we all knew it was going to happen no matter what. Therefore, those are the priority projects that we want to be involved in. We don't want to be involved in those that which you kick outside the door and say, you know, because this was only budgeted for next year, let's see if we can get free money. It doesn't work that way. The next thing, institutional capacity of the sponsor. Please, we're not looking for people that are not competent to run and manage projects. Okay. In so many cases across the continent, licenses to develop ports, to develop rail, bulk water, energy projects are given to anyone. And that any one person is the one who comes here and says, hey, can you give me $10 million? I want to do this project. No. The project is going to die because the any one person has no clue how to develop a project. Therefore, if you are anyone, it is perhaps in your best interest to see who you can partner with, such that when you apply for funding for a project, everybody who considers to give you money has the certainty that this person has the capability and capacity to develop it as much as he has to actually finance it and implement it. So the things that people get wrong at project development become very clear when you get to project financing and implementation. And in simple terms, if you're not structured here, it's pretty much calamity when you go further. Everybody knows how strong a foundation is determines how high the building will go. Therefore, it is our job here at DBSA, or at least my job, I know, to make sure that the foundation of every project is right. And we do not consider projects whose foundations are shaky. It's simple as that. This, an emotional one, commitment by a sponsor. We require committed people. I think I highlighted to somebody else before that before I got married, I said to my wife that I was very committed to stay with you. And she says, no, but I said, I've been here along for so long. That's why I'm so committed. And then they say, until you put that ring on the finger, you're not committed. And the only way to put that ring on the finger is to spend money. Therefore, we're looking for sponsors that are willing to be committed and spend money with us. Commitment is not what you say with your lips. I've tried that, it didn't work. And I think most of you tried it, it didn't work. The only time you were committed was when you put out money, you put a ring on the finger. Therefore, let's all put money and let's all work together and be committed to deliver a project. It's as simple as that. Last one. Yeah, if you're South African, you'll be very familiar with this one. It's very easy. Everybody wants to be sustainable. The DBSA wants to be sustainable. If we give you some money to develop a project, it just makes sense that once the project has been developed, that money gets returned so that we can give money to somebody else to develop another project. Therefore, once you have developed your project, please, we want our money back. EFT, cash, or e-wallet. Those are the only options. That's that. Right. Yeah, and this is another thing we really look at. Political cycles are important. And I say it very straight to people outside. If a president has 1 term to 1 year to go on his term, I don't want to be involved in your project. It's as simple as that. Because I'm going to lose money. All right. I want to be involved in a project in a country whereby they have just announced that this guy is the president. He still has 5 years to go. That's the day I want to start. And I want to bank it before his term finishes. Because if you're going to get in 1 year just before he goes, ask me, I've lost a lot of DBSA money. And I'm not going to do that again. So look out for political cycles. I don't know when, that's why, it may be controversial, but I like this guy. Because you can see everywhere else, this is the Uganda president, you can see everywhere else it talks about transition, one person to another, one person to another. There, it hasn't changed. Therefore, one policy. And the reality is, the banks like that. Because they know things will remain the same. Therefore, if I put my money, the next 20 years, I'm going to be paid. That's the guy. If he gives you a blessing to do your project, then you sort it for the next 20 years. Now, if it's these ones, then there is the left. Then tomorrow we have the right. Tomorrow there's a new president with a new mission, etc., etc. And every single time we have to sit down and assess, are we going to get repaid? Where is our funding? You want that. I'm not saying that's the solution to life. I'm just saying it makes sense for banking. That's that. Right. Economic cycles are important. We all know there is a current commodity price slump. Therefore, you can't spend $1 billion doing an oil project. It's just as simple as that. If you have that, it will be difficult to get project preparation funding, and it will be difficult to get financing for such a project. It's important that you pay attention to that before you get involved in developing any project. Simple as that. And that's it. Any questions? No, you got it right, Paul. I mean, it's not DBSA. Marketing is always the biggest problem with this, and I'm very well aware of this, and that is why specifically for this program I contacted them to try to make everybody aware of this, because we sit here as South Africans. There is money available, and I know for a dead fact out in the market that people are running with good projects and they think there is no money for development. While we have 100 million euros that's going to expire in 2020. And once that money expires, is unfortunately going back to Europe unspent. It's as simple as. So yes, definitely the marketing is not at its best as you would like. As you'd like it. I think recently this is on the front page of the DBSA website as it is. But I'm hoping that the people we have here are project developers that will take advantage of these opportunities. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you. It's easy. If we provide funding to you for any reason other than your own fault, the feasibility studies prove that the project is not feasible as a result of reports that are provided by independent consulting. You owe us absolutely zero. The only time you'll owe us money is if we provide money and you decide to walk away, or the studies prove that the project is feasible and bankable and you decide not to proceed with it. Therefore, the way we recover our money is if I give you $1 million, then when we provide you with $100 million debt to implement the project, then you will owe me 101. So there's never a cash requirement from you to repay the money. The project itself will repay our preparation funding so we can use it for the next project. It's a very easy think the moment you get money here, your house won't even be attached. The only thing we require from you is commitment. We're going to work with us throughout until the project reaches financial close. No, that is not required upfront, no. The project developer, you don't, remember, the moment you are a project developer and you come, unless you are Chinese, if you come with project implementers upfront, you're going to struggle getting a financier, because most of the financiers want you to go on an open market to make sure that if you are doing, say, a road project, they want to see your code from Group 5, Marion Roberts, WBHO, Stefanuti Stocks, etc., to make sure that they are not overpaying and that you are not over-investing on that project itself. So the idea is not to say that you should come to ask for preparation funding with a project implementer. No, that isn't the requirement at all. We don't have a minimum nor a maximum. I have seen 100 million rands given on a project. I have still seen 2 million rands given on a project. The most important thing is just those things. The key thing we're looking at really upfront is there an investment opportunity here for the DBSA and for the EU DFIs that are providing the preparation funding? That is that. And that you can make that assessment upfront, purely just seeing a person's concept note or pre-feasibility study, etc. Oh, okay, thank you. Very easy. On our website, there is a template or a place where you can apply for funding. It's on the very front page of our website. But the easiest thing you can do to avoid frustrations, and I know many of us have them when we try to do these things. You know, I try to apply for funding for my house, and they say, go online and check your affordability, and that will give you an accurate number, and I didn't like it. Just get me a project concept note, a 5-page concept note, and say, explaining this is my project, etc. In the speed of light, I'll be able to tell you if this will fly or it won't fly. Then it makes your life very easy. Thank you. I'll go back to the very first slide. These are 3 different processes for all the 3 different funds. The DBSA has a committee that sits every week. The second one, the EU IPSA, sits once per quarter. And similarly with this last one, SADC Fund PPDF sits once per quarter. So the moment you send me a project, it's very easy for me to evaluate which of these funds will be applicable. In some cases, it could be a combination of some of them. You know, you don't have to understand the nitty-gritties of which one does what. I'll be able to, you know, any of my colleagues will be able to assist you with which fund suits your projects better. You know, I mean, just as an example, if your project is in Kenya, both the EU fund as well as the SADC fund doesn't do projects in Kenya. We simply take you to the DBSA. We finance a specific infrastructure project, and that infrastructure project must be in one of these sectors. That is that. So, if there was a toll road that's moving from a mine to a port, we finance the toll road. We don't finance the mine. So our job is to provide funding for infrastructure, the link between the resources and the market outside. That's. We'll fund the maintenance. I mean, all of those maintenance, construction is for the infrastructure asset itself, being the road. Absolutely, yes. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Most welcome. Sure.